How's it going, everybody? I'm the BTC Reaper, and my goal on this channel is to teach you how to reap the rewards of trading whether price is going up or down. Binance motion on SEC's misleading public language denied. So, U.S. District Court, presiding over the case between Binance and the SEC, has denied a motion by the exchange that could have blocked the regulator from issuing public statements in the case. So Binance was trying to prevent the SEC from saying anything on the case. This is due to them saying that Binance says that the regulator had no evidence of customer assets being dissipated, commingled, or misused in any way, and that its press releases was misleading, contains a statement that the SEC knows to be unsupported by evidence, and is inconsistent with the rules of professional conduct. Binance is required to present its defense on September 21st, and will be followed by the SEC's counter-argument on November 7th, and a day for any due replies on December 12th. Bank of England says Bitcoin CBDC might not be on a blockchain, so they're very indecisive here. The man in charge of the UK's effort to explore a CBDC isn't sure whether they are going to use a blockchain or not. They held a meeting to discuss how the UK central bank's so-called Bitcoin would be designed, and 4 members were not convinced that distributed ledgers offered more efficiency over conventional ledgers, so they weren't really sure if there was a point of using a blockchain, basically. Muddin said that the BoE would want Bitcoin to be compatible with distributed ledger business models in the private sector if it's ultimately introduced, yet the digital pound underlying structure is still very much open, so they still want to hold their coin, kind of like the EU. We'll get into that. Nevada forces crypto custodian Prime Trust to shut down. I don't really have very much trust in Prime Trust. Regulators in Nevada are moving to shut down troubled cryptocurrency custodian Prime Trust after determining the firm was so financially underwater. The regulator also called for an appointment of a receiver to manage the business in place of its current management, which is very much needed. The receiver is an outside entity that is appointed to handle operations to an insolvent financial institution until all the assets are sold or claims against it are resolved. So, Nevada regulators alleged that in January 2021, Prime Trust began reintroducing legacy wallets to customers after it moved systems to Fireblocks 2 years earlier. And then by December 2021, Prime learned that they couldn't actually access these wallets and the currencies held on them. And from then until March 2022, FID said the company began buying digital assets using customer funds to meet withdrawal demands from their clients. So they're using customer funds to make sure they could meet their needs, kind of like FTX. EU reaches agreement on crypto asset regulations in banking. Not a really good one, though. Preliminary details suggested a hardline stance with a maximum possible 1,250% risk weight assigned to free-floating cryptocurrencies. This would have meant that banks would issue a euro capital of each euro of Bitcoin or Ethereum they hold, effectively discouraging them from investing. Basically, if they held $1,000, they'd had to hold 1,250% of that worth of assets to compensate if it was in Bitcoin or Ethereum. However, during the talks, they did say that they could substitute this for stablecoins without having that risk asset, but stablecoins really don't provide anyone value because they're stable and they're not going to change much. The agreement now requires approval from member states in the EU's council and lawmakers, which could take several months, so we'll have to see what the final bill actually becomes of this. Onto the charts. We are kind of pulling away a little bit. We did try to pump back up through this value area. We had nothing stopping us, but we ultimately got pulled back by the bears, and they stopped us in this higher volume node here, right here. We do have another one here, that's where we kind of bounce off. We have another one right here, and where you see these bigger spikes, those are going to be your points where you hang up. Our stochastic is overall falling, RSI is starting to fall, momentum still starting to fall, money flow still doesn't know where it wants to be, VWAP's very indecisive, so we're not very decisive here. This is a long upper shadow candle currently, so if it closes like this, That is a bearish candle, as it shows buyers tried to jump the price up. They were unsuccessful and sellers managed to drag us lower, so we could see some downside from that. Over on the 4 hour, we'll get back to all the other ones. Sorry I had all that gone. Over on the 4 hour, we are making a little bit of a bounce off this support, but we have touched it a few times, so if we come back to it, we could break through it, so just watch out. RSI is overall getting weaker, stochastic's getting weaker, about to make a bearish cross. Momentum's starting to come down, money flow still struggling to get above this 20 area. VWAP's coming down still, so overall we're not the strongest looking. We got a little bit of a pump, but nothing too exciting. We did reclaim 30k, so that's alright, but we are pretty wishy-washy. Stochastic is getting a bearish cross here, RSI is starting to fall, our momentum has a red dot and is starting to curl. Money flow is struggling to stay above this neutral line on the 2 hour, so that's not very good. VWAP's getting close to breaking through the neutral as well, so that could press the momentum lower, and we could see further downside. Finally, on the 1 hour for Bitcoin, our money flow did peak into the bearish territory twice. We did try to go bullish, but we are making a third drop into the bearish territory. So we may hold and see some further downside if we don't get some strong push upward. RSI kind of is trying to keep like consistent highs, not overall making lower highs. We are starting a little bit of a drop off here with the stochastic starting to drop off very strongly. Momentum starting to drop off strongly, and our VWAPs are drifting away from that neutral pretty violently. So we do have a pretty strong bearish signal here as everything's starting to drop really hard, and we could see that money flow reject away. Just a peek on the 30-minute, money flow is bullish, but struggling to maintain bullish as well. So gonna have to keep an eye on the hour, 2 hour, see if we keep flashing red. If we do, we may start to weaken. Oops, sorry, we'll go back to our total, then we'll go to graph. Stochastic is starting to fall, RSI is kind of starting to round out, but we are trying to push forward. Momentum was rounding, but we are trying to curl back up, so that is a little hopeful for us. Our VWAP is getting close to breaking through that neutral though. Our money flow is pushing away from the neutral and in the bearish territory, so overall we're not the strongest here, but we have a little bit of hope with the momentum and the RSI pointing up. Sorry, we'll go to the daily. Our kind of flagging on the Bitcoin dominance here. Stochastic still falling. RSI is getting lower highs. Momentum's starting to curl out. We have that double red dot that really hasn't taken us very far. Our money flow is kind of rounding out here. We are trying to make a little bit of a recovery off of a bounce from this 9 area, which is a pretty decent support for the money flow. So if we roll back over and break through it, we could see further downside. VWAP is in the bearish territory, not very strongly, so that could roll up and help save the momentum, but we'll have to keep an eye on the lower time frames to see what will happen. VWAP's not looking good on the 4 hour, so not too hopeful on the 4 hour there. Our our futures, don't know where I got stochastic from, our stochastic on the futures is falling though. RSI is overall making lower highs. Momentum's starting to curl out. VWAP is getting close to that neutral line, so we could break through and that momentum might get a red dot. Money flow is in the red, so we are kind of sliding away from neutral. Not very good there, as futures can lead the Bitcoin price, so we may see a drop if this starts to drop as well. We're kind of in line together now with the kind of pump we got with Bitcoin. So now on to graph. We are making a little bit of a bounce here, so got candle wicks here, some candle bodies and wicks there, so this is the kind of support resistance area. Got a candle wick there, some here, so you do have some confirmation of support resistance area there. So we could make a bounce and that would solidify something. We could make a move off, but that's going to be dependent on how our indicators look. Stochastic's overall spreading apart, falling down, not looking too strong. RSI is overall getting weak and kind of rolling over. It is starting to flatten out, so that is a little hopeful if the stochastic can kind of turn course. Our momentum's kind of curling with a red dot, so that momentum could push us lower if we don't continue up. that VWAP is in the bearish territory, so if that VWAP keeps coming down, that momentum's going to follow suit. Money flow is struggling to go anywhere. We're kind of gridlocked around this 5-6 zone, so we'll have to see if we can break up or down. Once we make a determination, that's probably where our trend is going to go. Over on the 4 hour, our money flow overall kind of looks like it's rounding down and out, kind of arching down there, so not the greatest. Stochastic had a bearish divergence that brought us down. We have a red dot on our stochastic that's currently trying to bring us down. Our stochastic is falling with a bearish cross. VWAP is very weak in the bearish territory, so it could cross bullish. That could help the momentum kind of flip bullish. Our RSI is losing ground because our stochastic is under that 30, so our stochastic does have bearish strength in the 4 hour, our medium time frame, so that's not the greatest. So we're starting to get a little more bearish leaning on the medium time frame here. Stochastic's getting close to a bearish cross, RSI is starting to curl down. Money flow is just struggling to go beyond this 13-14 zone. Our VWAP's kind of rounding out, about to break bearish. That's giving us a red dot that can confirm on our momentum and bring us lower. Bunch of manipulation X's that want to bring us down. Kind of rounding out on price, so overall not the strongest look right here. Over on the 1 hour, our stochastic is starting to fall pretty strongly. RSI is curling away. It's trying to make a little bit of a bounce and save itself, so we'll have to see if it can continue to push forward. VWAP is falling very strongly. Momentum's falling very rapidly with it, with the red dot that rejected away from our neutral. So we are pushing down. Momentum is pushing down. Money flow overall is coming out. If you look at the grand scheme, since we've made this run up, almost a head and shoulders, which would have been a bad pattern because that could bring us down. This could be a head and shoulders, but we've kind of gone sideways away from it, so we might not have that against us. Stochastic is starting to fall. RSI is flattening. I just keep an eye on this money flow as it's really indecisive, kind of gridlocked here. So over on Anchor, on the daily, we are pushing down to our value area low on our volume profile, so we are kind of trying to bounce off it. If we can get some green candles and push off it, that would be a good support, and we may play around back in this range again then. Stochastic is starting to fall, RSI is starting to fall but taper off. Our momentum has a red dot that wants to bring it down, and the VWAP is breaking in the bearish territory, so that could bring our momentum lower. Our money flow is trying to get higher lows. We're trying to get near that neutral, but we kind of pushed away the last time. We'll have to see if this time we can get closer and actually break through with some strength or not. If we don't break through with strength, then we could likely reject away and see further downside. Our momentum had a bearish divergence that brought us down. RSI is coming down, our stochastic is beat down, our money flow overall is arching out. We're trying to get a little bit of a recovery over the last few candles, so if this can continue, that would be good for us. Our VWAP is in the bearish territory, so that's suppressing our momentum. If this VWAP continues bearish action, and our money flow doesn't really gain any conviction, we could see further downside, and we could start to press down, as this is a descending triangle here, and that is a bearish pattern. Over on the 2 hour, our stochastic has a bearish cross, RSI is starting to arch out, so overall those are weak. Our money flows keeps zigzagging around, it's pretty weak. I'd say it's a little more bearish leaning, unless we get like a strong move into the bullish territory. VWAP wanted to come back up, but it's starting to curl away, so that's not good, as our momentum wanted to curl back up, but that could push it down and flatten it out, and we could see some further downside. Over on the 1 hour, our RSI overall is starting to fall. It's rounding out here. Our stochastic's getting a bearish cross and starting to round, so we could see further downside with that in our RSI, as it did reject away from the neutral and give strength to the bears. Our VWAP is curling away from neutral. Money flow wants to push higher, so we are trying to get near that neutral. If that money flow can split with some conviction, unlike back here, then we may see some further upside. Our momentum is kind of arching away, likely because that VWAP is arching away, so I keep an eye on those as well. So now for XRP, we'll go to the daily here. We are kind of rounding out still. A little bit of a pump though. RSI is overall losing still. RSI wants to make a little bit of a bounce up. Stochastic has a bearish cross. We are getting a little close. We could get a bullish cross in the next couple candles. We'll have to keep an eye and see if that actually has some strength or not to kind of push this RSI higher. But currently the stochastic is in the bearish territory, so our RSI does have bearish strength on the daily. Our VWAP is rejecting away from neutral. Money flow is starting to curl out. Momentum's starting to come down, so I'd say we're not the strongest looking here. Over on the 4 hour, we're just riding that neutral line with that money flow. It's struggling to stay anywhere. Stochastic's pushing up pretty strongly, wants to press us higher, but our RSI is really not going anywhere from that, and neither is price. Our momentum wants to come up, our VWAP's pushing up pretty strongly, so we do have that going for us. A couple indicators look good, but the money flow is just kind of sketchy. If we look over at the 2 hour, we did attempt to break bearish in money flow and we made a bounce, but we are kind of rounding back down and we could make another attempt to break through, so I'd just keep a watchful eye out for that. Stochastic is trying to press higher overall, but it's getting close to a bearish cross with a manipulation X that happened a little while ago, so that could help set us up for some downside. RSI is starting to curl out. VWAP's starting to round down, so our momentum could come down. So I keep an eye on all these as we look a little more bearish in my opinion. We do have that reversal with the green dot that wanted to push us up, but the last time we did that, we kind of just fell flat. Stochastic is kind of pushing away. Momentum's starting to round out with the red dot. RSI is overall starting to fall. It wants to make a little bit of a bounce here, so we'll have to see if it can. But if everything else looks weak, then it's not very likely. VWAP is getting close to that neutral, about to break bearish. That's giving our momentum that red dot, so we're not too good. If that VWAP can make a strong bounce here, our momentum could press higher, and then maybe our money flow will go off of this neutral. But right now that money flow just keeps hitting the neutral, and the more you hit a support or a resistance zone, the more you're going to break through it. Over on Algo, we are coming down to the bottom of our channel still, so be wary. Our stochastic's starting to fall, RSI's starting to fall, momentum's starting to fall with a red dot. Our VWAP is in the bearish territory, so that's pushing our momentum down. Money flow's rejecting away, so we're a little more bearish looking. That reversal arrow played out pretty badly so far, and not terribly, but if you were in any kind of leverage position, few percentage would kind of set you up for a bad move. RSI is coming down, momentum is trying to curl, VWAP is trying to get through that neutral, so if that VWAP can break through the neutral, then our momentum might start to get a green dot and curl up. Our stochastic's pretty beat down, money flow's overall breaking down, so the money flow is getting close to that neutral and could go bearish soon, so I'd keep an eye on that as well. RSI is overall falling, so we're not looking the strongest here on the 4 hour either. Over at the 2 hour, our VWAP is zigzagging around, kind of confusing our momentum, so they don't know where they want to go. Momentum's saying it wants to go up, but our VWAP's not very strong in bullish territories, so I wouldn't believe it too much right now. Our money flow is overall, did get a bit of a pump here with this pump, but starting to curl back down and getting close to that neutral, so just watch out for a breakdown. RSI is heading down away, our stochastic is trying to break through this neutral and hold with some strength, so we'll have to see if it breaks through or if we just fall flat here. Finally on the 1 hour, our price is pretty flat, we're not quite a triangle or anything. Look at the lower time frames real quick. Yeah, no pattern really except for it rounding. Could be an inverse head and shoulder that kind of spat us down a little bit. Stochastic is starting to fall here. RSI is starting to fall. VWAP is about to break through that neutral. Momentum's getting a red dot. Money flow is in the bearish territory. So if we continue this setup, we could see further downside on the medium to higher time frames. So I'd say we're not too set up for too well looking for a bullish move up. Algo looks a little worse than some of our other coins, so I'd keep a watchful eye on some of these. Thank you for watching tonight's video. I hope you have a wonderful night. Don't forget to hit the like.